May or may not like my answer on this one, but I'm going to give you my answer. This is going to be me expanding way beyond just the idea of just the physical. We'll go into the metaphysical here. And I don't usually go into these kinds of topics, but I think this is a fun and interesting question. So I'm going to give you my best answer. Fair enough? It's just, this is all, again, gospel according to Axel. This has nothing to do with what's actually going on. So I'll just give you my interpretation. I probably wouldn't change a whole lot, and the reason being is because human beings, whether we're here because God put us here, or because 80 billion years ago nothing exploded and created everything we know, or the third option, which is that this is all a big simulation and that, you know, we're actually disembodied energetic beings that live somewhere else, wherever, another plane of existence, another part of the galaxy, another part of the multiverse. It doesn't really matter, but we have taken physical embodiment to be able to have our, you know, our abilities limited with just the five senses and whatever resources that we have available to hand. Okay, so which is the reason why you would play any video game, actually, oddly enough. The reason why you would play the game is to actually be able to experience playing the game. You wouldn't want to have it so easy that there was no point in playing the game, right? So we as people need to have all of these kinds of things, these kinds of pushbacks. So I don't know that I would necessarily want to, you know, sort of restructure civilization. I think that civilization itself can do quite well on its own. I do think that there's that when you enter in the idea of a, for lack of a better term, a cheat code, and you start getting a bunch of people to think that the resources that you have are infinite, right? And that you start getting to think that their time is also infinite, which is not the case. I've been very clear about this to my gold bugs, to my, you know, my orange internet money guys, everybody. I'm like, dude, there is a finite reality to this existence, whatever it is. And that has to be factored into your equation. And there's unfortunately a lot of people that have been led down this road, this sort of this Pied Piper road of infinite everything, because everything can be infinite and we can just always keep things going up. This is particularly true with the stock market, the real estate markets, on and on and on. And if you followed my work for any length of time, then you understand that, like, at a certain point, there is a Ponzi scheme aspect to our economy and to our people, in that people are not having as many kids, so therefore there's going to be this correction, what I would call a market correction, not a bust. It's just a market correction, that's all it is. And where we're going to find a market correction and real price discovery across a lot of different sectors, not just financial, but into the, even into the personal aspects and everything too. So, I mean, how would I want to set things up that would be maybe different? Not really. Not really. I really think that people are actually smarter than they think. I know that what we see, right, there is this, well, there's the Men in Black argument, right? A person is smart, but people are dumb, panicky, crazy animals, right? Yeah. So that's true. That's why it's so important to think of people like an individual, especially when you're talking to them or teaching them something. This is particularly true for parents. It's important to do that, to instill that into whoever it is you're talking to. Again, even if your kids don't like you, that's fine. They don't have to like you. Okay? I mean, it's just, not everybody's going to like each other. Even our kids, even our parents. It's just how it works. Personalities are different. But if you're still able to talk to them, you're still able to impart the idea that they are individuals and they can think for themselves. There is a level of autonomy that exists there. You don't. The more autonomy you're imparting on somebody, the more you get them to think freely. Now, this is where the hybrid comes in, because there's a lot of people that say, well, no, we don't want to have this rugged individualism. Look what it's done. That's a misinterpretation. You actually want people to be individuals. Now, does that mean that they can't be a part of a group? Of course not. That means they're just part of a group on a voluntary level. They're not forced to be in that group. You understand the difference? They're, you know, the word you're able to clan up, C-L-A-N, not K-L-A-N. You're able to clan up and be your own group, but it's voluntary. And that type of arrangement is better. Now, there is a physical border aspect, and that is the unfortunate reality that gets thrown into the mix on Earth. Because at a certain point, people say, well, hold on a second here. We're going to have our area. There is plenty of space on this planet. There is. You're talking to a truck driver, right? There is plenty of unused land just in the U.S. and Canada alone, not even including South America or Central America or all of the continent of Africa or all of Europe and Russia and so forth. I mean, I think there's plenty of that. The trick is getting people to start thinking more freely, and at the same time being able to say, okay, well, we can think freely, but we can also work together. And part of the challenge is that what about the people who don't want to do that? What about people who don't want to work with you, people who don't want to do any of these things? This is where the hard limits have to come in, and the hard limits come from the idea of finite resources. That's your hard limits. That's, if you want to think of it like the rules of a game. So again, if I was explaining Earth as a video game, I did this a while back actually. I tried to explain it as a PvP, RP, a server here. If you think of it like that, it makes it a lot easier to understand how Earth works, how everything here functions, and how it all works together, and the problems that go along with it. And those are, and some of them are really small problems, but some of them are really big problems. And those really big problems are what we're here to solve. And those usually require a large group of people who work together to solve those kinds of problems. You can solve small problems on an individual level or in a small group, but the bigger the problem, generally speaking, you're not going to find like one guy who's going to have a solution to all of it. You're going to have to work together and come up with some kind of solution that's going to at least work for the majority, for the majority of people, at least in that area, right? And then you can say, okay, well, hey, we've got a solution here in our area, and these are our borders. And the reason, of course, we've done borders is so that way we're able to leave you alone. You're not there to try and like conquer everybody else, even though that's get done in the past, actually. I mean, make no mistake, that's who we all are as human beings. Everybody here, no matter who you are a descendant of conquerors. Did you know that? That's just a fact. It doesn't make any difference. Like, well, but the white people stole our land. Like, yeah, and you probably stole it from somebody else. Who stole it from somebody else? Who stole it from somebody else? And on and on and on it goes. I mean, you wouldn't be here if you understand fundamentally and biologically. You would not be here if you weren't the sons and daughters of conquerors. You understand? So there's not a lot to really change. There's not. There's just a matter of tweaking the way that people think about the reality in which they live. And then if they think about it a little differently like that and start thinking like, no, hold on, okay, we're here to, okay, then that changes the way that and then they change the way they look at the resources. If they can change the way they look at resources and understand that your time, number one, right at the top of the stack, your time is limited. It is finite. Whatever this is, it is. But your time here on this reality, whether there's another reality beyond this or not, it doesn't matter. Your time is finite. And if you understand that, then you can see the rest of the world that fits into that category. And it changes the way that you look at it. That changes perspective. And if you can teach other people, that's the hope, is that maybe you teach other people, and then they teach other people, and then they teach other people, and so on. And it spreads out a little bit better. And then people get to realize, like, yeah, hey, I mean, if you're going to actually involve me in whatever it is that you're doing, we need to also realize that there's sort of a fundamental check here on our resources, and one of which is our time. So if you're going to have us do a bunch of working, okay, well, then you're going to have to pay us in something that is also finite. Rewatch the movie Ready Player One. I've never read the book too, but I mean, like, rewatch the movie. Oddly enough, it kind of goes into that a little